students and staff. And dear Lord, I pray in Jesus' name, amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I call to order the board workshop for February 24, 2026. Welcome, citizens of Clay County. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to attend today's school board workshop. This workshop is our opportunity as your elected representatives to collaborate openly among ourselves and make decisions that will decide the future direction of our public schools and education of our children here in Clay County. There will be an opportunity for the public to ask questions at the end of the workshop presentation. Questions will be allowed. Public comment will not be allowed. If you wish to ask a question, please fill out a comment card with your question and hand that card to a deputy. Your participation is welcomed and appreciated. I know we've had a lot of presentations and a lot of stuff going on the last couple workshops, but I wanted to get back to the board being able to discuss things that they want to see future on our agendas or have anything that they want to discuss openly with the board at this time. And if you guys don't mind, if I can go first, just because I have to go. I know we talked about, well, I talked about wanting to present a policy or an opportunity for students to include our students. Instead of creating a policy, I met with Mr. Broski and some staff, and we came up with a little bit of a different idea, and I wanted to run it by the board, see if you guys have any suggestions or new ideas. But the policy that I was going to bring forward, we do not have the structure that other districts have as far as like student governments and stuff. So we already have a student advisory committee with Mr. Broski, which is already set up, and he and I talked and discussed what my idea or what I perceived would be an idea for our students and work together. What I would like to do for our students is that they have a president, but each student represents a school. And I would love to get their feedback on this as well. But my idea would be that we add essentially an agenda item to our board meetings where they get to come up and speak and have their time on the floor. What they decide to say, I would like for them to all agree on and vote on, but that would be the student's voice at every meeting. I would also like them to have special seating so that they feel included, to have insight and be able to speak to us as board members. We have been invited to the student advisory meetings. I kind of wanted to make that a committee. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but at the same time, like even with our committees, we're all welcome. We can all go to them. My vision or what I would like to see is that at least one board member goes every month to hear our students speak and hear what they have to say. I also would like to emphasize too that when we go, that we listen, strictly listen. Obviously, if they ask us questions or want our feedback, that we give it, if we're invited to speak on that. But for the most part, I think it's very important that we just listen to the students and not try to emphasize anything or sway them or any of that. I just want to make sure that we hear strictly from our students. And then maybe each board meeting have them rotate from different schools so that we, like Fleming could speak one month and then Orange Park or, Clay High, whatever, each month, so that they have that opportunity if they want to. Again, I would love to have their feedback on this and what they want to see. But it gives them an opportunity to feel that they have influence on policy and what they're seeing in their schools and bringing ideas forward, and that they're being heard, essentially. So that's my view. I want this to be something that is continued long after all of us are gone, because I think, we're here for students. And if we're not listening to them and not hearing what they have to say, as level-headed or outlandish as it is, whatever it is that they're bringing forward, I think it would be important for us to hear from them. So if you guys have any ideas, if you have any feedback on it, your thoughts on it,
I just have a question. I might have missed it because I was getting organized when my computer wasn't working. But would this be like a student from, did you say where we'd get them? Was it the superintendent, student? Okay.
since it's already established. And other districts are so large that have like a student liaison, that within their schools, they have a government board, if you will. It's kind of like a student council in a way set up, but we just don't have all of that. And to start somewhere, I think this would be a good start.
At the last time I attended FSBA, people were kind of raving about an idea of, some places called it a guest student board member. They made a place for them to sit. But honestly, I was quite shocked at how many people thought it was like the best idea ever. Board members were almost all in agreement about having student representation, so I just want to lend my support for your idea.
Thank you.
So Madam Chair, if I could, why don't the board discuss where on the agenda? I would make the recommendation that it go before public comment.
Before public comment?
Right, so the student can say what they have to say.
Okay,
and-
yes, I see.
Yeah,
I
had some
generally have
thoughts.
school the next day.
That's what I was thinking, okay.
Yeah, I think this came up before, but this time when we delved into it, we only had Dade County and Broward that participate, which kind of surprises me that there wouldn't be more. And of course, they're very different than we are. Because I was going to say, we need to probably flip it to where we attend their meetings, and whether we add it as a committee spot, but we can rotate just like they can rotate it, and we need to leave that up to them as to who comes. And I'm not so sure about a particular spot. They can be in attendance, or generally, the one is generally there at every school board meeting anyway. So as long as they have 3 minutes to talk, I think we'll let them decide the procedures. So. But I didn't want to go full force because number one, our budget is our priority. And it's going to take a lot of your time just to get them in and set up and trained if we went to that extreme, but we don't need to do that. So anyway, that's the part that I'm in favor of.
Would the board like for this to occur before public comment? I'm just wondering where to place it on the agenda.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
fine
that's
with
a
that.
good idea.
And then the seating where they can leave if they want to, but that they have designated seating, if we can do that. Mr. Alvera, do you have a comment on it?
I think it's a good idea to listen from our students, and if each one of those students represent the school, that means they probably are informed about what's going on in the floor in the schools, and they can bring information to us. We can make a meaningful change if we need to. I think that's a good idea.
But I don't want to lose the fact that any student can reach out to us via email.
Yeah.
I don't want them to feel like it only has to go through this. I don't want to lose that. So.
But it could also be a conduit, like they don't have one now, they might be able to. I think it opens up a realm where they say, hey, there is a person who speaks, where do they come from? I think it gives a boost to the superintendents, maybe selections, causing a little bit of interest. So I think, Mr. Brodsky, like Ms. Gilhausen said, it's probably best to put it before the other comments and give them an opportunity, and then we could respond to if we wanted to.
I think it's a great idea. I don't know if there's a way to weave it into, I know our high schoolers have to take government economics. Is that still a senior level class?
Yes.
So I don't know if there's a way we can make it an extension of the ones who participate, it's a, benefit in their government economics class to kind of bring it all home, to help them understand that government closest to the people is what we aim for. So,
And that's actually in that policy too, that some of their, some of this is what you're referring to, but the
Because we're
policy
used
is
to
a little
having
bit more
more
invasive.
position.
and I'd really love if our 7th and 8th graders who are taking civics could maybe have a field trip to observe government in action and see the seniors kind of setting an example and something that they can aspire to when they get to high school. Is it all seniors, or are they?
No.
No, junior high and
Goes
high
down
school.
seventh
junior
graders.
high school. Great,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I would love to hear from some of the kids who are involved in civics class.
So that's actually helpful, because we're thinking like how to narrow it down to,
Yeah.
right, would be so be seniors in 8th grade.
Yeah,
And this way you get both perspectives and you graduate up to that. Many students that are on there for 1 year go on to the next year. Like they're generally attorneys that come back for more punishment.
I want to hear what's important to them, but I also want to hear how this experience is helping them as they're studying government and civics when they present to us.
And then some-
If it's anything like becoming a new board member, having experiences like that open a wide, or many alleys, should I say, to different insights.
I just know as a learner, if I can participate in it or do it, I understand it better. So I would hope the same would be true for our students, that they would see this as an opportunity to deepen their academic studies.
And I think also too, another thought I had as well is a lot of these people are graduating and are in high school, and it would be good resume builders as well. That's another thing that my thought process on all that. And they don't all have to, that's why I said we would leave it up to them if they wanted to rotate, if they wanted to skip out on their time to talk and elect somebody else to do it or whatever. I just, because some people don't like to get in front of people to speak, and I don't want to force it either. I just want to give them that opportunity, and I think that we hear from parents, we hear from teachers, and we should hear from our students, especially if policy affects them the most and what's going on, so.
I think partnering with our educators who teach civics and government could be a good opportunity to give some framework to what they might present, if it's tied to what they're learning in class.
I think it'd be a good start, so we can grow on it, and, but I just wanted to run it by you guys, and, the meetings are the second Monday of every month, correct?
It varies, and it's not every single month, so I can get you the, schedule.
Okay, thank you, that'd be great. Is there anything else that, you guys wanna talk about openly, policy, anything that you want to discuss further before we start on our agenda
I
items?
just had a question for Superintendent. I know the board, we came to a consensus maybe about dividing the student code of conduct in elementary and secondary.
Yep.
I didn't know if you had an update for that.
We are working on that, so we'll present that a split
Yeah,
version of it, the way requested.
I appreciate
That'll
it.
be April.
Okay, thank you.
Any other ideas, thoughts, discussions?
I've got 2 items regarding revenue, since we need to create some revenue to offset the lost revenue. Initially, you okay over there?
She'll choke up with the discussion. Okay.
Initially, I know we had, or I had spoken with some folks that downstate were involved with the cameras on the buses. And I think, in other words, to get tickets out to folks that didn't yield to the stop sign and such, but real quick, the thought came up to instead with all our school zones, because we've got plenty of school zones. Apparently there's a company out there that will review what the revenue could be for the entire Clay County for the size. And recidivism as well, you know, how often is it gonna continue? And we know in the town of Orange Park, it's only grown the revenue, it hasn't dropped in the least. In fact, I think the town is up to over $1 million now a year, and it's just getting more and more. Instead of people learning to stop, you know, it's growing. So I think it's something we might want to just take a look at. And then, secondly, somebody told me that the Southern group, as far as the lobbying, it's basically for a CTE program. Is that correct? Or do they do?
All of it.
All of it.
All of it. Mhm.
Okay, just wanted to verify that. That's it?
Mr. Rossi, do you have an update on, we could probably talk offline, but I'm just thinking about revenue and whatnot. Do you have an update on boosters?
Yeah, we're working on it, we're almost finished with the manual for that, so.
So we'll be able to go live next year?
For Booster Club, she's talking about.
Yeah, we have an upcoming meeting in the next 2 weeks, but we have a draft already done, already put together.
Okay, awesome. Okay. That's good to hear. Okay, good. Alrighty.
Thank you, Taylor White, for bringing together to us. Yep.
Discussion of start times, please.
Okay, Bryce.
Okay. All right, we're going to talk about school start times. It's not going away. The laws surrounding it and what we need to do as a district and a community. You guys all have a handout of the presentation.
It's always a slow cold start with this thing, isn't it?
Here we go.
Okay.
Okay, so just real quick, this is what we'll talk about. Just give you a background on it, our options, the timeline, and then we'll go into discussions. So back in 2023, the law came out that we were going to have to change start times for adolescents, and so that's the age group of middle school and junior high and high school, that we were going to be required by July 1st of this year, 2026, to move all middle schools to start no later than 8 o'clock, and all high school would have to start no later than 8:30. So we immediately heard this and we got together a task force because we thought, okay, this sounds easy, right? Just switch the times. So we got a committee together of principals, district staff, teachers, and talked about what does this really mean? Who is this going to affect? Let's make a list of all these things. Well, all the other districts were doing this as well. So legislators started getting phone calls on, hey, this isn't as easy as just, hey, we're going to switch the time and everybody's happy with the change and we move forward with it. So in 2025, another law came forward, spearheaded by Jennifer Bradley. She had received a lot of these calls and said, well, wait a minute, can we offer a waiver to districts if they engage their community and talk about all the different things it affects and what do the communities really want to do, and let each individual district decide on what they want to do, whether or not they want to keep their same time or change times or whatnot. So that's where we are today, and I just wanted to walk you through what the requirements are for that. So we are required as a district to inform the public of why this all came about, the studies that started this, and then what we want to do and what we found with our task force. So back in 2014, several organizations, Academy of Pediatrics and other medical organizations, came out with studies saying that the adolescents need 8 to 10 hours of sleep. And that their circadian rhythm is actually, they tend to stay up later, 10, 11 o'clock at night, and sleep later in the mornings. And so this was kind of a directive from them that this is the best practice. And if they don't get their 8 to 10 hours of sleep, they're affected, mood disorders, higher traffic incidents, lower academic performance, tardiness, sleepiness in general. I mean, I know we all want 8 to 10 hours of sleep. So the idea was, if we require them to start later, the kids will have the opportunity to get 8 to 10 hours of sleep, and everything will work wonderfully. Safer teen driving, positive performance, better academic performance, all those things. So we met with the task force early on when we said, okay, let's talk about all the things that it's going to affect if we do change this time. So, and we'll go over the different scenarios, but when you're talking about who is this going to affect? Transportation, right? So school starts at 7:20 right now for the high schools. We all know transportation has to start way earlier than that. Kids are out early in the morning, pre-dawn, in the dark. We also have parent work schedules. Who's taking kids to school? How is it affecting their work schedule? Are they going to have to get care in the morning and after school? What about student activities? Before school, after school, sports, athletics, clubs. We have a lot of students, especially high schoolers, that have a job to support their families after school. Right now they get out at 1:30. They have an opportunity to go and work, an evening, afternoon shift to support their families. Also, staff work hours. Some teachers choose to work at a high school because they like those hours, or work at an elementary school because they have elementary age kids, and they want to be with those students during those hours. And then, of course, transportation is one of the biggest impacted areas, and the financial impact there. So let's talk about transportation. Again, when you talk about changing times and transportation, it's kind of like, oh, you just put the kids on the bus and they go to school. It's no big deal, let's just change the time. Well, I want to inform everybody and the public, just in general, that we don't just have general school routes for our students. In addition to our general routes, and we have a 3-tiered approach. So this means we have elementary, junior high, and high school starting at different times so that we can spread out the routes and the buses and use those efficiently. To do that, we have to have 60 to 70 minutes between each tier. And that allows for all the routes to occur, to go pick up the kids, bring them to their school, and then make the transition to the next tier to start that route. And so just logistically with those tiers. We also have our specialized routes, which is ESE, McKinney-Vento, which is our homeless population, pre-K, and our alternative routes. These are longer routes that we're required to do and that we support. They're also take up routes, bus drivers, and time. We also have our extracurriculars, so we have field trips happening during the day. We have athletics happening after school, and sometimes during school, which also take away drivers and buses and routes from our general school transportation. And then we also have contracts with our Boys and Girls Clubs and PACE and AMI. We support those students as well. Again, just taking up more of the transportation services. So looking at all these considerations, these were the options the task force kind of came up with as the best options we felt. So, of course, option A, which doesn't comply with the law, but we would be allowed to stay if we decide as a community and a board to do that. We can stay with our current model. And that would be the senior high starting at 7:20, elementary at 8:30, and junior high at 9:30. Option B, we thought, okay, well, let's put elementary first, because to get junior high and senior high to comply, that would really be the only way to do it. And to put junior high at 8:30, senior high at 9:40. And then option C, elementary first, just don't touch junior high, just swap elementary and high school. So option A, again, minimal changes and impact to the community. Everybody continues as we've done for years, and nobody's making any changes. It continues to allow senior high students to work after school, have their athletics after school. They can start their games earlier in the afternoon and not finish so late in the evening. And transportation, when you're talking about high schools in the morning, it's actually really helpful to have senior high in the morning because they cover a larger area. And so those routes are generally longer. Less traffic in the morning allows for those routes to run a little bit smoother earlier in the morning. Option B, if we put elementary schools first at 7:20, we're going to have a much earlier pickup time for those kiddos. So we're talking starting at 6:20 in the morning sometimes, which is often still dark outside, and we have our very rural communities as well. So you have those kiddos out early in the morning. We actually also learned with our, through transportation, that by doing this, there would be an increased cost of almost $1 million, it's $932,000, just for additional routes, bus drivers, and having to work the logistics of moving everything around to work with this, this schedule. A lot of things we've heard from other districts, with the senior highs coming home earlier, those students a lot of times are able to assist with their younger siblings. So they're there before the elementary school gets home, and they're there to care for those kids, which is a huge impact on communities and families when you're talking about additional child care and maybe having to pay for that. Later dismissal times for high school students also would affect, I mean, we're looking at 4 o'clock getting out of high school. Less opportunities for work after school. It'd still be there, but it'd be minimized. But here, you know, this complies. Potentially, students would be able to get additional sleep, which would reduce health and behavior problems. Is that true, or would they just stay up later? That's really the question, right?
It does seem like football practice might go until, you know.
Right, I mean, everything's just
so.
gonna kind of shift. So, you know, is that what's gonna happen? In an ideal world, sure, it would. Okay, and then option C would just be keeping junior high as it is now, so they would have there would be minimal impacts there. Elementary would be first. Again, we have the concern with them being out in the pre-dawn hours, and also arriving home after the older siblings, which again has been kind of the biggest concerns we've heard. And then just similarly, high school level, having athletics run later and after school jobs. So, to engage the community, we wanted to first have this discussion with you all. We have a flyer that we have handed out that we would be posting on our website, and we would also like to put out a survey to the community, and this would be to everybody. We would ask for students, staff, parents, and community members in general. They would select within the survey which group they're with and what grade affects them the most and what their feelings are on this. Would they just rather stay the same? Are they interested in changing times or not? And then we would have a short response for if they wanted to include maybe anything we haven't thought about within our committees and our discussions. And we would put that link on our main page and send it out to parents and students as well in their emails. March 2nd through the 13th. And give them a couple of weeks to get responses, and then we would get the report back. The form from the state was just released last Friday, the official form that we would have to fill out to submit for a waiver. And all the form says is we have engaged our community, this is what we've done, this is what we've talked about, and this is what we've decided. And we just submit that and turn it into the state, and we would be in compliance with the law. And this is just the timeline. We're here today with the presentation. The next step would be the community survey. gathering that information, we would report back the survey results, and then we would submit the report by June 1st. And that's it, unless, open for discussion.
And the board will vote on it.
And the board would
The board will
have
vote
the final vote, obviously, on what we would decide. We'll go back to-
And so you will have access to all the survey results. We will provide an update to you at the March 24th meeting.
Is the survey going out through Apogee?
Yes, we will get it through all the different avenues. So we're going to do the website, we're going to send it to parents through Apogee, and
Students
and
through their-
students, and even community members, because they too may be impacted by this if they're business owners who are counting on the employment of the young people. So we encourage everyone to share their thoughts, and they can decide on option A, B, or C, and they can provide some feedback. And again, we can stay with A, the current model, even though the law has changed thanks to Senator Bradley, we can still select option A.
I saw too, option C doesn't have an additional cost. Is there a reason why that wouldn't?
There was minimal cost as far as transportation routing.
Okay.
Again, the biggest factor there was just the kids, or younger kids out early in the morning.
Yeah, I think all your comments were well taken. You know, it's,
As a parent of a elementary school age children, middle school and high school, I would vote for option A, definitely. I think that's the one that fits the best our purpose, because the early times on the little kids, 6:20 in the morning, when the weather is cold, freezing, they're not that quick to be around that, you know. So I would say that keeping the option A will be the best one that fits my needs. And I have kids in all schools.
I think another cost to keep in mind is energy costs and potential costs for installing lighting at the schools for athletic practices. I think about band practice, all of those things that would have to run later into the evening and need lights on to be able to do it. That's a cost we didn't, which I don't know, I guess that would come out of the operation budget, correct? Right?
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be kind of hard to see the band dealing with the instrument as well as a flashlight.
In the dark.
Have to be something.
And
And I know they don't like
you
to
can
use
give them an
computers.
extra hour in the morning, they'll take it, and at night, definitely, you gotta make them go to sleep. That's what I do with mine.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you gotta go to bed, you gotta go to school tomorrow. You let them stay, they stay up until 1 o'clock.
Right.
So no matter what time.
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to what everybody's been talking about, it's the cell phones. You know, you don't allow them to take them to their bedroom and stay up all night, so. And like you said, everything gets shifted anyway, no matter what we do.
Thank you, Bryce. This is excellent.
So the other thing I would kind of remind the board is anytime you put a survey out, you are going to get people that will give responses different than the ones that were echoed. That's what echoed here. That's what happened.
Is there a way to tell with the survey how many click on it and actually versus those that turn it in for some applause?
We can see how many go to our website. We won't necessarily be able to see how many, because by the time they click on it, they're clicking on the Google form. And it's really only, you can submit your answer in 2 clicks. And they will have a link, by the way, to this on there, so they can be informed of the different options as well.
Does it prevent them from filling it out more than once?
No, because we don't ask them to sign in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So if anybody's really passionate.
Yes, yes.
We'll look up my kid, spend a lot of time on it.
All right, thank you. Transportation?
Okay, Bryce, if you'd like to lead this one too, at your place is a copy of transportation, it's a documents of transportation trends, and
We're just giving a presentation. Roxanne gave a good presentation. I think the last workshop was here, and I know this conversation's up again. So then we were thinking as a team, like what information would be different? So we tried to generate different information and put it on a sheet for you to consider as this discussion goes on. So when you look at it, it starts off with salaries, because that's one of the things we didn't talk about. We didn't talk about like, what is the salary of the bus driver in comparison to other folks? So you can kind of see that information there. And you can see the starting for 1720 for Clay. And then, of course, we compete with Duval St. John's and Bradford because they touch our borders. And you can see that while our salary is 1720, it's pretty close to St. John's and Bradford. I would kind of remind you that Duval's kind of different in the sense that it's contracted. So I think they have 5 different companies that they contract out with. So it would be like Kelly Services for transportation kind of thing, where you're paying a markup to the company itself, and then they're paying the drivers because their drivers are their company employees, not the district, just a different model. Just want to make sure you knew that when you looked at that data.
Mr. Superintendent, that,
Yes.
the 2890, that includes, I think it was a year or so ago, the board decided to kind of get a steps for experience they brought in.
So
is that-
in the next box, the 23-24 box, that has the most words there, it talks a little bit about this. So when you take a look at it, yes, it's true that the 25-26 year, we were hit with some budgetary challenges, but then when you look back in 24-25, it was 75 cent increase, and 23-24, it was $1, plus the addition of the years of experience. And what you would see is every time, it's almost like a little game. Every time we raise ours, they raise theirs that amount plus a little bit more, right? So when we talk about competitive salaries, that's what we're talking about. And there's several times in the presentation last month where I talked about the need for competitive salaries. And this would be an example of that, right? You have to be able to compete in order to get the services that you need for children. So we're thinking, what things haven't we talked about yet? Well, one was salary, and you can see the history of salary increases the last couple of years. Then the next.
Can I ask you a question on salary real quick before you move on?
Sure.
So I just need somebody to explain this to me, because I don't know if others are misinformed. But my question, when you speak to certain individuals, they talk about how St. John, they do talk about Duval being more, but they also talk about St. John's being more. Are they about to increase again, or is this what it is? And if so, do they move faster towards that 26 than they do the 28 here in Clay?
So, Brent.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I can tell you that since they got their bill, St. John's drivers get approximately $30 a day, so about $150 a week from their mill. Whereas the teachers get the,
Additional
like the
bonus.
4th hour, whatever, the bus drivers, because they're hourly employees, they're not salaried, they get an hourly, and it's like $30 a day.
So it's their bonus, they do their mill like the bonus?
It's a supplement.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. They call it a supplement so that it counts toward the FRS and it's not taxed like bonus, it's taxed like
35%,
regular income.
yeah.
Correct. So,
Great.
but they do currently have that. As far as moving up faster on the schedule, it just depends on whether they get a salary increase when they bargain, or are you gonna get a step increase? The past several years with the CESPA bargaining, we've done a hourly increase instead of steps because they got more money that way. Like, the steps are not $1 apart, so if they would have done a step, they would have only gotten maybe 25 cents an hour.
Right,
So-
I remember that. Now, I got a question, so this doesn't include the mill money?
Correct.
Okay, so they're getting an additional, how much you said again?
It's about $30 a day off of their mill.
Now,
And that's not reoccurring, so that's not their hourly rate.
right. And now Duval's the same way?
No, because it's not their drivers.
Okay, because they're contracted, so their mill doesn't go towards their drivers.
Correct.
Okay, that's okay.
They also don't have benefits, the Duval people, they don't have benefits like we offer with working with the county through the contract service.
Right, okay. That's what I wanted to make sure, so that when we're talking to people,
Yeah,
they compare Duval a lot, but I don't think they're seeing the bigger picture
correct.
on certain things.
And Bradford doesn't have the mill rate, that's just their range of pay.
Correct.
So our biggest competitor realistically is St. John's because of the mill,
Yes.
would you say?
Is that our biggest competitor, or is it Amazon and UPS?
Oh, yeah.
Well, and Walmart.
CDL and stuff.
Yeah. Now, that changed a little bit, and Roxanne, correct me if I'm misspeaking, but I do believe several years ago, they changed the CDL training, whereas we did have, it was like, we would get them rolling and then they would leave because their CDL could go to any vehicle, and a dump truck driver makes a lot more money. But now their CDL is only good for buses.
Correct. Yes, they will they'll have to take additional classes if they want to take that CDL that they got with us to go drive a bus.
And we do have a $500 bonus, one-time pay, that we used to give it to them when they completed their training, but now once they complete, because support employees have a 90-day probationary period, so once they complete their probationary period, they get the $500.
Good.
Has there been an increase in retention based on the CDL for the buses only versus?
I don't get, as far as the feedback that comes back down the chute to us, I don't get a lot of feedback that I'm gonna go drive a truck, I'm gonna go do this. We do have some, and we're very clear, if you get pulled over, this is illegal, so this has to go back, and you have to take additional classes. Because there are things that they go through their training where we no longer have to go like under the bus or in the engine as much because it's bus only. If you go to get your full-blown CDL, then you have to get more in-depth with that piece.
One question, do we have any measure in place to be able to retain those drivers? Like, we pay for their CDL training, and,
We do.
And after 2 months, after they finish their training, they decide to go, they can go just
They can.
freely? I would suggest to put a clause on the contract where they have to stay with us for a certain amount of time.
Which we did do that. We
So
do have
that was, yes, I don't know where the traction left off on that one, that was a thing. The last feedback that I had received was something along the lines of like a small claims court, people would have to go and present, and I don't know if that was something everyone was in.
I thought we had where if they didn't stay a year, they had to pay back the cost of the.
She's saying we did, the problem
We
is,
did.
the problem
We
is
switched
recouping.
director. When it was during the time of the previous director taking over, but you do have board approval to do that. I don't know if you need to get with Mr. Broski or the attorney, but we all consented on that.
Their reimbursement, if they want to leave, they can leave, but they have to pay back because that's expensive. And you can't afford
To help
to
you.
just
And
pay
that's
for
what
people's
she's
training.
saying, sometimes the issue is with small claims
Getting them
court, the
back.
cost to go to small claims court versus getting that back is,
First couple, I think, would
Oh,
set the
you
tone,
don't always get it back, I guess is what I'm.
but
You can have
to show
additional
people that we are
conversation.
serious,
Yes.
like, hey, we're not gonna pay for, which I think that we did a good job by not paying for the whole CDL.
Yeah, so they pay for their fees at the DMV. That's all on them to obtain that. What we do is we will bring in brand new, trainees. They get 3 days of a permit prep class. So we sit down and we kind of show them the ins and the outs of this is what to expect when you go and take your tests. There's 4 tests for your CDL permit first. After those 3 days, you can't come back until you show us an actual permit. So then after they have the permit, then that's when they get their hourly pay to be in our 5-week training course, and then they go on to be a driver.
Well, I think the good news is more and more drones delivering packages when you get some of these.
That's actually like about to be like 2 or 3 years happening.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Like it's like right around the corner.
I just find it
So then
amazing. that
Amazon
it's there
drivers
the
might
next
be
day.
coming to us.
It's true, that's true.
Can't deliver
Start
stuff
recruiting now.
with a drone.
I know.
So then when you look at the hiring data, you can see that we're hiring people, not enough to have the cushion that we need to fulfill all routes, which is why we have double backs. You can see from the beginning of the year, we hired 32 drivers. There's currently 5 in training, 30 left the district, and 22 during that whole time frame were on extended leave.
That seems heavy, is that?
It does, but the number that's actually on FML now is what?
Well, we thought it was 13, but 2 of those are off, so it's currently 11.
11.
What is our optimal number for bus drivers? Is 32 what we need?
We need more, so right now, I have 12, I think 18 open allocations, which mean contracts, which means that I can hire on that many, and I have 12 open routes, so
how
that
many
allows us,
total?
in total drivers, we have 185.
Yeah. And for the FML, it is a higher number than other groups, but like if a teacher has wrist surgery, she can still come to work. She doesn't need to take FML. Whereas they can't drive the bus, same thing like with foot, if they're in a boot, the teacher can go to work. You know, even a custodian can possibly go to work in their boot, but they can't drive that bus.
Right.
So they do have a higher rate, and you have to remember FML is driven by the doctor. So they're given their job description and said, can they do this without restrictions?
Right.
And so the doctor puts them out quicker than they would another employee.
I would imagine it's also kind of generally the people drawn to those jobs. It's a job that you're sitting a lot for, so.
Yes.
There may be issues pre-existing that other groups wouldn't.
That is true, and a lot of our drivers are older.
Right.
They're retired, and this is a good, like you said, it's a sitting job, it's a good second job to get out of the house.
So we've never been at full strength, optimally.
Almost never. We did at one small point a year or.
It was like
We were close last year.
We
were close last year.
We're very
Yes.
close, but you never ever seem to achieve that. So that's really the challenge, really, and I don't want to speak for Roxanne, but the reality is some of the challenges would all be resolved with enough personnel to do it. Right, so the double backs or double ups wouldn't exist. The office staff that goes out, that of course is trained and licensed, goes out and to supplement and goes out to drive. And then people get a little bit frustrated because they can't get through as quickly to transportation to answer the questions because they're out driving the bus. So this is one of the few times where I can actually say, oh, it's very clear. If you have enough drivers, all of this goes away, right? All of the challenges goes away. The problem is you can't seem to retain them, and it's no different in Clay County than the state of Florida or nationally. I was up in Pennsylvania visiting friends and saw big buses of advertising going by. We're hiring, please call this number. And like everywhere you go, you're going to see that.
Have
So,
we ever done recruitment
yes,
initiative?
on the next page. I'm gonna turn it over to Bryce.
I know we
and Rob.
have, but I was wondering with retirement communities,
With what?
have we ever tried a recruitment
retirement?
initiative in some of our retirement
I
communities?
don't think we've done that technique.
And we tend to attract retired folks. I just wonder if maybe targeting our recruitment to retired folks might.
Yeah,
So I
maybe.
do know, every time a parent reaches out and has a question about a bus, we do say, hey, if anyone you know is interested, please, reach out to transportation, we are hiring. And, we kind of say that jokingly, but it's true. I mean, anybody out there might be like, oh, well, I could do that, And so we do, please tell anyone if they want to drive a bus, we'd be happy to take them. But Roxanne, yes, if you want to talk about your hiring strategies and just the different things you do, this is not for lack of trying. We reach out, we go to fairs. At the fair in April, we will have flyers on our tables as well saying, hey, make sure you guys, if you're interested, let your friends know. We'll have information there as well. But Roxanne, if you want to talk a little bit about the recruitment.
And I think something to just kind of notate, you know, the bringing the drivers in and then the numbers that we see, you know, often it feels like a one step forward, two steps back, right? We just released 3 new drivers last week that covered open routes. I had 2 drivers resign for family personal reasons. They had to move out of state, and one that had to go on an extended leave. So you're just like, oh my gosh, you know, just get everybody back in the saddle. As far as recruitment, you know, we are heavy on Indeed. Our job posting is there. We've done 2 events. We do one kind of in the summer to start us, you know, bring all of our newbies in at the beginning of the school year. And then we did one, I believe that was like October. And then we actually have one tomorrow. Through Indeed, it does track a lot of the analytics to it. So we can kind of see, you know, who's RSVP'd, they sign in, so we can track that, who actually showed up. Right now, we have 32 RSVPs. So take that as you will. You know, those are people that want to be there, so we'll see who shows up tomorrow. It's an all hands on deck day. We do open interviews for 2 time slots, a morning and an afternoon. And then, you know, we'll process through HR, of course, you know, once they meet all the standards. We do, of course, you know, internal hiring. You know, we have people that come in as monitors, and sometimes they're not. They look at the bus and they go, I'm not sure, I just want to be a monitor. And so for those, we kind of put a little tag on them and let them get out in the bus world. And then our training department is really good at kind of following up with them and go, so what do you think about getting behind the wheel? You know, so we also do some internal. Of course, our job postings are posted on our One Clay site as well. Job fairs, you know, we've done Career Source also with our HR department, and you know, talking to people, we've gotten some hires out of them as well. And then really, like she mentioned, parents calling. We have a driver now that was a dad that called and had a, just, you know, I'd love to help. You know, I see where you guys are at, and, you know, I feel like it's something I can do, and he's doing fantastic. So that does work, you know, so getting out there to the community, you know, and kind of talking to the parents when they're calling. It has been helpful. Right, yeah, right, exactly.
And Kevin also goes to like the Tri-Base and other military career fairs. So we go to those, and
Do you have an avenue to contact veterans as they're retiring from the military?
usually it's through the military job fairs.
Yeah.
So any military job fair that's open, we attend. And the Tri-Base one is the largest one because they hit the base there, the nuclear base, Mayport, and then NAS.
And those are just training with Penny Farms and New Haven and some of our 55 plus communities that exist. And then we've got, I think churches would be a great place to recruit too as a ministry opportunity.
Did we secure a tent or a spot at the fair?
Yes,
Yes.
We did secure one?
Yes.
And we'll be there all week, right?
yes.
That's all I make sure.
I think it's not on Easter, was it? What day was it that we?
Easter.
Sunday, yeah.
Easter Sunday.
Not on Easter Sunday, we did not want to ask them
I
to.
think it's kind of crazy that we.
What's the main cause or the main reason that the drivers leave? You have an next interview or something like that?
The main reason for the shortage, it's not a gig for everybody. It's not easy. There are lots of moving parts to being a bus driver, and you have to have that right personality, you know, that can handle student management, that can handle traffic, that can handle changes. Sometimes it's a moving target. So it ends up not being for everybody, and that's okay. You know, we get them in there, we do the best we can. We lend the support where needed. You know, we also have internally, there's attendance issues, and I don't think that's bus driver specific. I wouldn't even say that's our county specific, just getting people to show up for work. You know, so yes, we have our shortage, but we are working internally with attendance issues as well.
But I mean, I skipped ahead, sorry, Mr. Brodsky, but it says the state of Florida is short 4,200 bus drivers.
Yes.
That's
So
an
this is-
incredible
yeah.
number.
This is not a Clay County
Yeah.
problem.
It's
And
mind
just,
blowing they don't show up to work though, so it tells me it's not pay. Because if you don't show up, you don't get paid.
Exactly.
So therefore, that's the biggest question mark above my head. Because if we're talking about, you can only buy 4 bags of groceries and that's like $200.
Right.
I can't comprehend that.
I think it's going to be the people that we attract with a higher hourly rate. You know, people that are not gonna just take anything, right? Not saying that all of our bus drivers have that mentality, but I think increasing that, you know, you are attracting a different, you know, group of people. Because the ones you're care are gonna be the same ones that are coming in Monday going, I don't have enough money, you know? So you gotta come into work to get the paycheck, to pay the bills, to pay the groceries.
Correct.
But I think adjusting that hourly rate will also help attract a different, you know, group of people as well.
And sometimes I don't think it's the pay as much as it is the respect for doing the job.
Right.
And they get to some of the schools and, you know, it's obviously not a glorified job and based on how they're treated.
Yes, that's why I said it's not
That has a
for
lot to
everyone,
do with
yes.
it. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'll say, the majority of the bus drivers are wonderful, and I have the radio on in my office, and I can hear them talking to each other, and they call them their babies, and can somebody help me here? You know, there's just a handful, and it's with any industry, I think, with teachers, anybody, you know, in any industry, you're gonna have a group of people that just aren't showing up. And, you know, to continue down the page, when you talk about the hiring process, we're like, well, let's just hire more people. Let's get people in the queue and hire them. This isn't something you say, hey, yeah, I want to be a bus driver. Let's get on the bus tomorrow. You hop on the bus and go. It's 5 weeks of training. And like Roxanne said, it's, you know, if you can think of being a teacher in a classroom, but your back is to them, you're trying to drive and they're all talking and, you know, maybe out of control, depending on the bus. You know, it's not for everybody, so I think it's
Do you think
tough.
if we increase discipline for bus issues, or address it, be a little bit, raise the bar on that, would that retain people?
I think, so I'd say for majority of our schools, we have really good support from them. You know, if we do our due diligence, you know, with, you know, here's your warning, I'm gonna move your seat. You know, if we do our internal student management and then we're at the point of a referral and it goes through that process, you know, I would say majority of our schools are really supportive in, all right, 3 days off the bus, 10 days off the bus, you know, or for the instant things, you know, there's a fight in the back of the bus and you can't do anything about it when you're on landing, you know?
Right.
So trying to find somewhere to pull over while at the same time, everybody wants to stand up and record it and and you're the only adult on the bus, you know? So it gets hectic and you have to be a person that can make quick decisions, logical, quick decisions. But I would say as far as the discipline, I feel like we get really good support from our principals, admins, so.
And our shortages, if you look at the next table below that, we're below the national average, and surrounding districts, we're short about 7%. And so when you look at St. John's at 14, Bradford at almost 14, and Florida, you know, we're down 4,000, nationally 9.5.
What about?
We're in a better place than most.
What about, helping that driver, that route that is complicated by putting somebody with that driver?
I think that's what the bus monitors are for.
Yes, and we do, so on the opposite side, we're doing great with bus monitors. So we had a little bit of a deficit coming into the year, but we're fully staffed and some with bus monitors. So that is part of what we do, is we're grabbing some of those bus monitors, putting them on the buses, just to even have that just visual of another adult on the bus helps, you know.
Is there a higher
yes.
correlation with retention when there is a second adult on the bus? Or it
There
doesn't seem to
can be.
matter?
There can be, it depends on that particular person, you know. I have some bus drivers that get on a bus and just their sheer presence and their energy will calm down a bus instantly. You have other drivers, different personalities, get on the bus and the kids are not paying them any attention. So it's about helping them with their student management, you know, getting them trained and again, it's not for everyone, you know, and so we have to find those individuals that are not afraid to face the hard things that happen on a bus, you know.
So Roxanne, just so I can make sure the board understands the number, when you look at the chart, it says 13 open routes. So that would mean you don't have a bus driver for 13 open routes. So you start the day, 13 bus drivers short. That's not including the people that call in sick.
Correct.
So every day you're trying to manage that. That's why I said I've never seen a problem where the answer is so clear to me, right? Is have more bus drivers, that's the answer. And then trying to explain why that's more difficult than it appears would be, so you would have no double backs, no double ups, no need to have the miscommunication of either the robocall or the app or whatever, because everybody's on time if you had enough bus drivers.
And the sad part is, unless the economy is really, really bad, we'll never have enough bus drivers.
There hasn't been enough bus drivers.
Well, I remember when my husband went on it, he was a year before he was really not standby, because there were that many people, because the economy was so bad. But he did it when he retired from programming. But yeah, it took almost a full year. So there were enough at that, but the economy, that was, 2007, 2008. So, but we don't want a bad economy, so there you go.
Then the chart on page 4 is kind of like, I call this the dawn chart, which is, you can see how much it costs to run transportation, but then how much they give us for transportation, but how much it actually costs, so you can see it's virtually double what they allocate for transportation as to what it costs. And then you can see the whole statewide average for those. It's a common complaint of school districts and superintendents is, why don't you fund it at what it costs? Not, because then that money has to come from somewhere, the difference has to come from somewhere. And then the all-famous Chipmunk app. I'm gonna turn it back over. Roxanne, give us your Chipmunk app.
Okay, so the Chipmunk app, and to Mr. Broski's point, if we have all drivers in the seat, the Chipmunk app works 100%. So it's due to all of the changes that we have to make daily, is to why a lot of this with the Chipmunk app is so frustrating to the community and internally. So the open routes, of course, learning curves. So I was able to make an adjustment internally with the software where it gives the driver more, availability to control, hey, I am me and I'm on this bus, or I am me and I'm on his bus. So that has really helped with giving visibility to the parents. But in doing that, there's a learning curve because there's certain buttons and clicks that they have to do on their tablets before they start up their route. If they come back to a school for, say, a double back, they have to remember, I may have been here for a long time and I know how to run Sally's route, but I need to come over to the tablet. I need to log in as Sally's route so that her kids or her parents can see, right? So there's a learning curve, of course. Now we do have Bus Planner, so they were out visiting with us last week. Their director of customer success was there for 2 days for us. And we kind of dug real deep into the weeds of our program, Bus Planner itself. So Bus Planner is kind of the big umbrella, and they have all these other pieces like the Chipmunk app that they offer that we do partake in. And we have realized there's a lot of cleanup with the data that needs to happen on us with our routes. So some of the timing is off. So a parent may say, well, my bus is supposed to pick up at 7:35, let's just say that. But the bus never shows up until 7:40 or 7:45. So that has to do with the routes in the system being calibrated appropriately. So just like anything else, when it's clocking time and speed, there has to be a calibration to it. So we are working on that behind the scenes. That is a bit of an overhaul, but we will get it done. And so that information will mirror and match now. So,
Does that calibration take into effect that all the roads are under construction at
That-
additional time?
yes, so the really cool thing, I'm gonna try not to bore everybody with it, but the really cool thing about when they get to the calibration piece is it will take a stretch of a road, so say 218, who has some construction, it'll take a stretch of that and you give it, say, a timeline. It may look at it over the next 2 weeks, the last month, and it will pull every GPS ping for every piece of equipment in that area. So if the average speed is 25 or 30, but originally it was showing 45, 50, that's where we're off. So you have some counties that, if they're more rural and not a lot of changes, they may calibrate 3 times a year. If you have a more dense population, maybe more city-like, they're gonna run it maybe once a month. So, we have to get on that, because that has not been done in quite some time.
So that is part of the issue.
That is part of the parents seeing the difference in the timing. So what the Chipmunk app is showing and what's actually happening in real life, so.
That would be good to explain.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in the last workshop I talked about, they were rolling out the student scans. So when a student scans on a bus, the parent is getting a push notification on their phone. That has rolled out, that is working fantastic. Again, learning curve, enforcing, hey, you have to make sure students scan on and off the bus 4 times a day. So that's another piece. It works, but we have to enforce it internally to make it happen. So your next piece is about kind of where are we moving forward. Like I mentioned, the more accurate stop times, that's calibrating the system. Our IT specialist is also running a report every morning of buses not reporting. That's probably some phrasing that you're hearing from parents that you'll see on the app. There's a couple of reasons why that could happen. We may not be using that bus for the day because it's in the shop for monthly maintenance and it's in a spare bus. It could be that that person did not show up to work, so their bus is not going to be used that day because now their route's going to be double backed. That can all also be changed by, I need to log into the route that I'm covering. So yes, my bus may not be reporting because they didn't come into work, but if I'm going to cover it as me, I need to make sure I log into that route so the parents can see it. We have had some kind of technical bugs on some of our buses as well, even some of the GPS pieces not reporting properly, so those have been handled as we've discovered those. So we're looking for repeat offenders for our buses. Bryce has got some on her Chipmunk app. I have at least 10 on my Chipmunk app, and it kind of gives me a good snapshot when I look for the day to say what buses are not reporting, because that is what
I guess there's
prevents
no
them.
way to have an incentive is there incentives for people who do log on every day for like a month? Or?
Not at the moment.
It's a daily call right now.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if this isn't, they have to, on the back end, figure out why is it not reporting. Is it because they're not there? Is the bus in the shop? But yes, the learning curve of logging in every day, it's a new program and just getting used to the daily grind.
Yes, yeah. And there are, I think in every parts of society, there are, sections that are not very keen to technology. So there's that piece of it as well to, don't be scared of the technology, it's going to help us, it's going to help our community. So getting everybody, on board for doing that. And sometimes we have to hold hands and that's fine, we'll hold your hand until you understand it and get it right. So let's see, of course, filling our open routes, as Mr. Roski said, that is going to eliminate a bunch of the headaches that we are experiencing for sure. The dispatch module, so that is another piece underneath that bus planner umbrella that I spoke about. That will ultimately be a fix for when anyone is out and we have to do a double up. So that means one driver hauling 2 routes at that one time. The tablet function, the Chipmunk app part of it, that is not a thing. You cannot represent 2 routes at one time. Here comes the bus app. Can't do that either. It's just not a thing. But in this additional software piece, the dispatch module, you can manipulate the route from the desk, and that information is to push through to the tablet. So when I log into my route, if I was given a double up, it's already set up for me. I don't have to figure out how Sally's kids are gonna get home. I don't have to go remember to log into it. I've already pushed it through from the desk to your tablet, which also connects to the Chipmunk app. That piece is still being developed, so we're hoping as we roll into summer, that's gonna be our soft rollout, is our summer school drivers. So if you guys learn anything about me, I am a cautious person when it comes to rolling something out. I wanna make sure all the bugs are worked out, and that is my intention for this dispatch module. I think it'll fix a lot of our issues as well, because attendance issues don't go away. So we are gonna have some double ups and double backs, but we'll be able to control it from the desk. And then notifications, of course, so right now we utilize ThrillShare, which is what the district offers, even from the classroom perspective. Through Bus Planner, that is another piece, it's called Alerts, and that gives us more control of what we can send out and who we can send it out to than we kind of have in ThrillShare. So that will be coming down the pipeline this year too. Any Chipmunk questions? I know.
So we were looking like, okay, we wanted to talk about transportation to us, what do we bring that's different? So we try to bring different information to you today related to transportation. You got nothing else from it, if you have enough drivers, all of the issues go away. Really, that's the bottom line to it.
Well, and I think seeing the difference between the counties matters, because when we're comparing, a lot of people like to compare, we gotta compare apples to apples, and making sure that,
Yes.
you know, you may get this here, but also know this is what we have here in Clay. So,
Even speaking with St. Johns County, I learned that they do not have tablets on their buses. Their students do not scan on and off buses. So even kind of in the technology world, you know, we're a couple of steps ahead, and I think that is some of, when we're comparing county to county, we do have some of our stumbling blocks that we're doing because we're learning this process and trying to roll it out. So that was intriguing to me to learn.
no, it
I
is.
thought they had tablets.
That we have less numbers over there, but here in Clay County, that's just another safety feature, I think. that
Absolutely,
we,
yes.
Implement that others don't. Now, if we can just get it
Yes.
working
We will.
90%.
We will get there, absolutely. We will get there.
All right.
So,
Are we,
I wanted to say something. What support do you need from us to be able to take care of this situation?
I think for me personally, just know that I'm working on it, and our group and our team is working on it. You know, we are trying to, you know, fan the fire down, you know, when parents call. You know, as far as support, I think if at some point we do look at more competitive salary, that will help, absolutely. And, you know, any type of, I think, you know, extras for the drivers, like you've mentioned, incentives, you know, I think that's always attractive to people that want to come work for a county.
Well, I know, like, in the teaching world, when we had to all of a sudden take attendance every period, it was a really big learning curve. I mean, the front office would have to call 30 out of 60 teachers and ask them to put in their attendance.
Yeah.
But I do know that some schools did, like, at the end of the month, whoever did it the most often, their homeroom would get a
Yeah.
pizza party, right?
Yeah.
And so them teachers would rush in there, and they'd be like, how many times did you get caught this month? Like, just what I meant by incentive is not something really expensive.
Yeah.
But I feel like, Mr. Broski, that we could do something competitively fun with very relatively low amount of money
Yeah.
that might inspire that friendly competition
Sure,
to
absolutely.
remember to log in.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's something we can think about,
Sure.
come up with some ideas that aren't real expensive that might help with that, because I do know it was fun. I remember I went 2 months without missing, and then I missed one and I didn't get it that month, but it
And
was
we can
kind
work
of,
with our business partners on.
Yeah.
kind of a fun way, and maybe business partners,
Yeah.
like you said, could help with that, you know?
Absolutely.
I think kind of the biggest piece is that, you know, when we started to do this trends page, we're like, okay, we'll do a one pager of kind of quick facts to like help out. It turned into 5 pages,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
and so I think communicating out to the public is, there's a whole lot more involved than just, oh, hey, just hire more people, you know? There's just a lot of moving parts, and again, it's not for lack of trying, it's just there's just so much more involved in it, I think, than anybody realizes of just, you put the kids on the bus and you take them to school and they come home, like, what's the problem, what's the big deal? And so just the support from you all of, you know, hey, we're looking at all of these things all the time, is, you know, helpful.
Something has been on my mind since we had to restructure everything last year because of the budget situation. And I want to bring this up, that's why I asked the chair to put it on the workshop agenda. We still have to cut 1,200 students from that 1.5 miles to the 2 mile mark, right? And one of the things that I was told when we were working on that budget situation was that no student was going to be, you know, victim of whatever we were going to cut. And we still had to, because we don't have any other way to do it, go to the 2 mile mark. I want to be able to get between all of us and try to see if we can reinstate the 1.5 mile at least for elementary age students. The little kids, the walking 2 miles for them is hard. The little kids, they're not responsible enough to walk for 2 miles to school. I know we have to fix the situation first. We have the drivers. I'm not saying we can do it right now, but maybe next year, you know, working on protecting those children that can be dangerous for them to walk to school for 2 miles. On a cold weather, 30 degrees, or hot weather, you know. I'm not saying that we can do it for everybody, or I'm not even saying that we can do it for elementary, but at least brainstorming and trying to help those young kids. We did it for a long time, we did it for years, and I believe we can still get it done, at least for the little ones, for their safety. 12, 13-year-old kids, 17-year-old kids, they can drive a bicycle, they can walk to school. But some little kids, the parents cannot take them to school because they have to work. They have to find a way, and I think we can help them out, if it's possible.
I think it's also concerning though, you're not even supposed to be at home by yourself at that age either, so I'm hoping that somebody's actually taking them to school, that they're not walking by themselves. A 5-year-old should not be walking to school by themselves. I know circumstances are different, but if we're going to have children, we have to make sure that we can, we as parents are responsible for those children as well. I would never let my 6-year-old or 8-year-old walk, no matter what shifts I had to pick or what I had to do, and I get it, things are strained, but I would encourage all board members to go look into the life of transportation. I'd encourage you to go out there, see what they are doing, how many people are there and how many people are not, because they are running buses. They're doing multiple jobs.
I'm not saying they're not doing a good job. I'm saying that we can offer the support she needs to take care of the situation we have right now and maybe work on installing some of those routes. Like Keystone Heights, they don't have the infrastructure, the sidewalks. You know, like Oak Cliff right now is full of traffic, like they don't have the infrastructure either because there's a lot more vehicles in the streets.
Well, I think
We don't have no
we kind
crossing
of
guards.
fixed Oak Leaf a little bit on as far as traffic is concerned, and I know that we're working with the county to talk about sidewalks and especially Ms. Hanson's district, and the importance of, with the new growth, we need to have supported infrastructure if we're going to request these parents to follow state statute, to do the 2 mile requirement, that we do have infrastructure, we do have sidewalks to provide for them.
I think it's important to remember that community safety, child safety is not just the school district's responsibility.
Correct.
That it's got to be a community effort.
No, I agree with that, but
Just to add on, so when we first started talking about the 1.5 to 2 miles, I think operations will tell you that I probably talked to you guys 3 months straight. I know that I won't mention any names, that someone actually went down 218 and saw the bike walking routes on the side of the road. Operations went out down the side roads. They didn't do the direct line. They started looking at the way the kids actually had to walk to school. And I will tell you what made my heart rest a little easier is that operations not only listened, but when parents called, whole kids who had a need on a street were able to get on a bus. I'm not saying in an ideal world it wouldn't just be great to do what we used to do, but I can tell you that this department of people over here helped me become at ease with it. And the amount of emails that I received went from 10, 20, 30 to 0 over a period of 3 months. So we have helped an immense population of kids to go to school safely when there was a need. And it's not something I would have given up lightheartedly. I worked at Wilkinson all those years, and I saw kids going down the side of the road. So basically, I was overly impressed with the concern they had and the ability they had, because the county commission, since I was out there in 2003, has never put the sidewalk in like it needed to be. So we're waiting for that to happen. Wasn't really an option, but Clay County actually went above and beyond. And if I ever find out, I know Miss Skipper went out there one time and watched with her own eyes. If we were concerned at all at this point, or if there's a parent that is concerned, I just send them to them because they have made immense progress in the safety of those kids. So I'm not saying if we were dropped $10 million as a gift next year, that it wouldn't be great to do that. I just want to say that I am proud of what the board has done to make sure our kids are safe, and the extent that operations has gone to make sure the kids in need were on a bus. So.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I didn't forget, but to address the many other things that we are doing, that is one important thing that I think we do need to emphasize, that if a child was in danger, if there was an instance, like myself, I jumped out of the car and I was like, who told you to drive down this road like this?
She did that.
The mama bear came out in me, and I immediately called, and I was like, this kid should not be on 218, like, I know. So, anyways, your department, you guys took that serious, sent people out, sometimes didn't even need to, because you realized that the way that the path was being directed was not accurate. So I think that that's another thing that we should talk about, is those who were in danger, we made sure that they were covered and they were routed.
And Ms. Clark was able, she worked with the sheriff's office, and we got a new crossing with lights out there. I agree that maybe with community help, we could get more people, maybe volunteers. I think the school's gonna have to collaborate, having people along a busy road if kids were, Tynes Elementary, those people were great. You guys worked out that whole situation.
Yeah, thank God we got the four-way stop there.
Yeah.
Because that is a nightmare.
Yes.
Sometimes we just need the county commission to bump up the additional turn lane.
And so when it comes to buses and safety, I really, when I talk to fellow school board members in other counties, we have gone above and beyond. And I know that all of us are willing to help where it needs to be helped. I just know under our certain constraints that it is really difficult to do what our heart would love to do, but we've done the best we can in a worse off situation. And I do appreciate the efforts of everyone to make my district in particular safe. So.
If there's ever any emails that you guys get from student or from parents, and they're walking, definitely send it to us, because some of the ones that you guys have sent, we actually were able to identify as a hazard, and then we do get state funding if they're identified as a hazard, so it kind of helps both pockets there.
Definitely, there was a situation where a student had to cut to somebody's property to be able to to get to school. The situation is that they measure, the way they measure the Dumail wasn't through the path that he's supposed to take safely, and he's supposed to go through somebody's property to be able to be safe.
Yes.
If not, he wouldn't be qualified to get in that bus. Those things, I think they need to be looked at.
The system was taking a child like through a parking lot. That we're like, it's not, it is a parking lot now, like back then it probably wasn't, but to go out and put eyes, we can't see all of them all the time, but if they're brought to our attention, we definitely go out there. And even in cases where I worked with one of the elementaries at Keystone, just kind of unaware of some of the neighborhoods there, and the struggles that some of those neighborhoods go through, and, the children not being able to get on a bus resulted in the attendance issue, because they are getting themselves ready in the morning. So we were able to do a courtesy ride and make it a double back, and then eventually merged into an actual just route. We were able to help with like attendance issues as well, helping those students get to school.
I believe you also did something in the system, right, where they were measuring from a house to a school as a crow flies. You were able to go through and make it look at the actual road routes?
Yes, like the road, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And that helped a lot as well.
Yes, yeah. So definitely send it our way. Please don't ever hesitate for that, because there are pieces that we may be unaware of, or as we talk about calibrating the system, pieces that we need to find.
Ms. Skipper, bouncing off of your infrastructure comment, just to let you know, any new development that applies to come into the district or the county, we have a say-so in DRC, and we look at their plans to make sure in their plans they have safe routes to school if it is necessary that they are meeting the statute for that infrastructure. Okay.
Good, especially for future growth.
Exactly.
I know a lot of our problems are already existing.
Yeah. So we're trying to make sure that those problems don't happen.
Yeah, it's not built on that. Alrighty, is that it? Okay, next up, the review of school board policy 5520. I want to talk to the attorney's office. It was under my impression that you guys needed additional time when reviewing this policy.
That is correct. We'll need a little while just to make sure that there aren't any legal issues that might occur unintentionally if we move forward on policy change. So our office will need a little more time to look at. I believe this is Sarasota's. I believe this might be Sarasota's that we were looking at their policy, but we're gonna need more time to do an in-depth review of that policy.
And just to be clear, just so that we're covered, we already have a current policy for this in place as a school district.
Policy 5520 was our grading policy, is that what we're talking about?
No, it's a protest policy.
So on our agenda, it's policy 5520. If you look in our
I think that's a
our board
mistake.
policy, yeah.
Because,
So I just want the public to know
okay, yeah,
what you're
there-
talking about.
5520 is disruption of school and school-sponsored activities.
well, we were gonna have grading.
I'm sorry,
and-
I'm looking at 5420, that's my mistake.
Okay.
Okay.
You're scaring me for a
I was
second.
like-
That's my mistake, sorry.
But just so that we're covered, we already have a current policy
Correct.
in place for this issue.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct, and depending on what the nature of the protest, if it's a walkout or something, that's something that would involve potentially CCSO as well, if someone's impeding traffic, for example, so.
I just want the public to know that
Yes.
we're covered.
Yes.
This is just additional.
That is correct. There are, if there is a disruption to school or school activities, there is a mechanism within school board policy that would discipline people that do that.
So can I ask the question, if we've already got a policy, what are we looking at changing and why?
I think they want more time just before they present it to us and ask us.
Right, there is a request regarding the policy, so, if there is to be any change, one, we want to make sure that we look at other counties, specifically Sarasota, but we are going to need to get with Neola
So can
as
I
well.
ask, who asked you to change the policy? Because I don't remember the board
So,
having that discussion.
I remember, Mr. Alvaro, did you bring it up, I think you said it at the school board meeting, that when the education commissioner sent a letter out regarding there could be some rumors about kids
This was at our last regular meeting?
Protesting.
Yes, during your board comments?
Yeah, I think you wanted us to make sure we just looked at our policy and gave an example, right, of someone's policy. We do currently have a policy in place. I know that I spoke with Mr. Broski about this because I don't know if it was last year. At some point, there was like a walkout scheduled at one of the high schools. And I remember talking to Mr. Broski. So we have a very effective way to hit that nail on the head, right? So the administrators on local campuses have a lot of authority in how they can handle, and every campus may handle it differently. So I understand how we'd have to look at the policy carefully to make sure we weren't the legalities of the policy, but we do currently have one in place. But the concern, I think, came when the Commissioner of Education sent a note out to everybody about possible disruption.
Also, and I think I would be really concerned if we didn't have a policy in place, would be my concern. But also, if we, I guess I want to just state to keep in mind that if we do change and go against Neola's policy, like a major change within Neola's policy, that doesn't protect us legally anymore, correct? Is that?
Right, it wouldn't fall under their insurance or guarantees.
Right.
I'm comfortable with the policy that we have. I think it covers any, we've had walkouts in the past, that's not new. That's something we've encountered as a school district. So I think making knee-jerk reactions in policy based on current events is usually bad practice. When we paid a lot of money for Neola to make sure that we're sound, I feel like it would be kind of foolish to do anything different. Just my 2 cents.
So the Sarasota poly is not Neola?
To my knowledge,
It must
it's not. We haven't gotten a full dive deep into it. We'd have to talk to our Neola reps, first of all.
Yeah.
And
to
is
be
it
able
an
to-
actual
It's not,
policy?
right.
Do they have it as an actual policy?
I believe that they
It's a
do.
draft right now.
It's drafted.
They haven't adopted yet, or they didn't a week ago.
Like I said, we have had this in past precedent. Our policy has stood the test of time, has been effective in managing disruptions on school campuses and handling free speech fairly. I just don't see a need to spin our wheels on this one and potentially get into murky water. That's my 2 cents.
Do we want to give a consensus to see if it's necessary at this point for them to do all this research?
Right. I feel like, from my perspective, that's a waste of our legal time.
If we're bound to Neola and we do pay them money, I agree with Ms. Gilhousen. She has the most experience over the years too, to see how we have dealt with such disruptions. And so personally, I know I fought for Neola, and there's reasons that we went with them, and one of them, it does make us legally sound, and there are protections that come with our policy. So I agree with Ms. Gilhousen that we don't need to look further. Maybe we could make changes within Neola if we needed to, but to look outside of our policy with Neola, I'm agreeing with Ms. Gilhousen. I don't think we need to do that at this time, but I don't know what the other board members think.
The purpose was to have a comparison and see if we're missing anything on our own part. That was the purpose.
Oh, but Neola does that for us. That's the point. They've done all the comparison.
And they do state statute alignment. So like minor changes are essentially okay. Like if we want to change some verbiage and like we did. But if you restructure the whole policy, then we are open to litigation and we're open to being sued and all the things that come with that. So if we already have one in place, like if there's minor changes or something like that you would like to suggest.
No, it was exactly
but if it's a whole.
Between all of us to make sure that our policy covers everything, that was all. It wasn't like he said, an example where we can compare and see if we lack of anywhere and then make the small changes, not changing our policy from nobody else's policy.
And I think, Mr. Alvaro, to your point, is Neola will look at that, like, so we have a new circumstance, a new climate, where this might have happened all over the state of Florida. And I think their team of lawyers will naturally give us updates if that needs to happen. So they will compare what the commissioner said, because that's what they do for a living, right? There's a whole bunch of lawyers. So when the commissioner sent down that directive, I'm almost certain that Neola's lawyers took that directive and they make sure that we're legally sound. And they will offer changes for us periodically, the district gives us a packet of those changes, and it comes out once or twice a
So
year.
it's twice a year.
So there may be
After
changes in the Neola policy based on the Commissioner of Education's suggestion.
And I'll tell you, Neola is much more on top of it
Yeah.
than this board has been in years past. We had a hard time keeping on top of managing our policies and keeping them up to date, which is what led to the discussion of going with Neola so that they could help us with legislative updates and requirements from the DOE and all of that.
Sounds good, I guess.
So, Madam Chair.
Ms. Clark, did you want to,
No, I think
I think I talked over you. Sorry.
We don't need to go any further.
So that's consensus, board majority.
So if I could, just to kind of reassure the board, your current policy says that students do have constitutionally guaranteed rights. However, they can't disrupt the school environment. And if they do, the place for the consequence is the code of conduct.
Right.
And so it's important to remember that even within one grouping, 5 students can be involved in a quote protest. Each one of them do something different within the protest, deserving a different consequence. And that's outlined within the code of conduct. So getting into policies that are very specific make it harder to actually administer the policy, which is probably why Neola is structured that way.
So I guess, with the direction of the board to our legal team, there's no need to move further on this issue since we already have a policy in place.
Yes, ma'am.
And we'll wait to see if Neola does an update.
And I mean, we can maybe reach out to Neola and ask them, but I think that they'll, with the legislation about, or with the session about to end here shortly, I think that if there is anything that would be in that time, that they would have opened it up, but I don't, yeah. So as the direction of the board, don't proceed any further on this.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Brodsky, cheers.
Okay, so before I review the agenda itself, I thought one of the things that we said from last time is that we should do a quick budget update each time. So I'm going to give you a quick budget update. Just a reminder, we started, it's almost Dawn's 1-year anniversary.
Ah.
What day?
March 10th.
March 10th, she'll be here a year. So she probably got here and said, what? Why did I take this job?
Never happened, not at all.
Right, because you realize we were kind of put up against the 8 ball. We won, didn't get our last payment from the state. FRS went up $1 million, there was no floor calculation. Vouchers at $30 million. A lot of things happened at one time, creating a financial challenge for the district. So we immediately took action, which was we had canceled some contracts, particularly iReady, Penda, et cetera. We cut our district budget as well as school budgets by 20%. Okay, conducted return on investment studies for each and every program within the district. Paused
non-essential travel. The personnel, we wound up repositioning 252, I believe, positions district-wide. All of this happening in May. To say that that causes stress to the system is a huge, huge understatement, right? And so we gave a little bit of a report card last meeting, and we said we're about 50% through, and a lot of those metrics are on track, whether it's payroll, whether it's our Kelly Subs contract, we're about where we should be. But then you remember me making a big deal, a dramatic pause to say, yeah, I'm covering all of that in a 10-second time frame, but this is painful every day. Like, please know that. It's painful every day. There's not a day that I don't discuss the budget with somebody. Not a day goes by that this isn't a thing. So I think you kind of maybe get a little insulated from it because you're not living it every day in that way, but very proud of the work that's been done. I sat in a 2-hour budget meeting yesterday, right? And every budget, we're now to the point where we're starting to budget for next year, believe it or not. And so we're already starting next year. And so we sat there line by line
in efforts to reduce. Very proud of that. Remember, we introduced Financial Renaissance Plan. The goal was to provide competitive staff compensation, increase fiscal and operational efficiency, as well as strengthen our fund balance. So we kind of provided a big picture of that. We said that there's 3 pillars involved. We want to decrease expenses, which you can see all of that is occurring. We wanted to increase revenue and also increase enrollment, because funding is tied to enrollment, and how to do that through our family and community engagement folks and the things that you've seen. Within that, pillar 2, we talked about increasing FTE and how to do that more efficiently so that we're getting paid for all the dollars that we deserve, as well as we talked about the renewal of the one mill. And I think I speak with great clarity, at least I'd like to think I do anyway, right, about that. So when talking about the 1 mill, the board kind of weighed in on that, if you recall from the meeting. And I think that 2 things came to the top. One is we should continue to provide safety for our students through the use of law enforcement officers. That means Clay County Sheriff's Office, Orange Park Police Department, Green Cove Police Department. As well as we should provide competitive salaries and compete. We just talked about the bus drivers, right, and competing against the folks that are around us. We need to do the same for all of our employees and compete. When you look at it, really, I think as a parent, I think it's a winning hand as a parent to say, I want my kids safe, and I also want the best and the brightest around them. And that's really what we kind of brought forward. And I thought I expressed that clearly, but maybe I didn't express it that pinpoint. And so I'm trying to recapture that here this morning so everybody can see.
So what you're saying, Mr. Superintendent, we can do both?
We can do both. In fact, other districts have 8 or 9 things on ballot language. Remember, no ballot language has been brought forward.
Can you say that again?
No ballot language has been brought forward.
So we haven't discussed ballot language?
We
at all?
have not.
This board has not met and discussed?
We have
ballot?
not.
That will occur on March 24th, I believe, according to your timeline?
I believe that's the time frame, the 24th. And so we've had much discussion, including discussion with our attorney about language related to that. There's very specific criteria. For example, you can only have 75 words by statute in this area. I can promise you're going to see 2 things on the potential language for the board to consider. You're going to see law enforcement officers in our schools, and you're going to see that we want to retain and attract the best and the brightest individuals that work within Clay County schools. And this is no different than other districts. You can't compete. Let me say it again. You can't compete if other people have different rules that they play by than we play by. We need to level the playing field for a couple of reasons. Why? I want to compete, I want to win. 2, this is good for our employees. They're the people that do the work within the district, and so I'm very passionate about this. My recollection is that it had unanimous support among the board. They both recognize that both of those objectives are very important to Clay County schools and the long-term future of Clay County schools and the students that we serve. So that's all I have to say about that. In case you have something else related to. I just want to make sure that I was abundantly clear this time related to that. We want to decrease expenses, obviously, and I don't need to tell you that vouchers and that issue are particularly concerning to me, because I think there's a lack of knowledge and a lack of understanding by people related to this particular issue. So I'm going to try a little analogy here, just to kind of pose it a little bit different to you, so you can kind of understand this a little differently, because I think that people confuse school choice with vouchers. First of all, I'll go on the record and say I'm a school choice advocate. I myself went to Catholic school. All 10 of us went to Catholic school, right? So it's not really a school choice issue. What we're seeing is the movement of public funds, public funds, going to private entities, and whether or not that's right. So here's my example. So let's pretend, and I'm going to use law enforcement as a way of just providing an example. This is just an example, all you Facebook people out there. It's not meant to be a truism. It's just an example, just to kind of illustrate this for you. The sheriff's office protects the 644 square miles of Clay County, and they're given a budget to do that. We'd all say that the sheriff does a great job, and our sheriff's department does a great job. They do a phenomenal job, right? So, and let's just pretend that their budget is, I have no idea what their budget is, by the way, so don't take this as a, let's just say it's $300 million. I don't even know what it is. Let's say it's $300 million. Then let's pretend that a community, let's say, not to pick on any one community, let's say the residents of Eagle Harbor say, we want additional safety and security measures in Eagle Harbor. We're going to put up gates. We're going to put up armed guards. There's several entrances into Eagle Harbor, by the way. So that we're going to do all of this because we want additional safety. As an American, I say, you go for it. Go right ahead. You know, who am I to stop the people in Eagle Harbor from wanting those things for their community? Do it. Where I draw exception is where you say, all right, we're going to take money from the sheriff's office to pay for that. You have to pay for it yourself. It's no different than the residents of the town of Orange Park paying additional in order to have their police force. Why is it that you take money from public school and give it to private school? That's the equivalent of taking the money from the sheriff's office and giving it to the residents of Eagle Harbor in that example. Now let me ask you, what do you think happens to the services that the sheriff provides if you took the money from the sheriff in order to do that? Do you think the service went up? Or do you think the service went down? So my big beef with vouchers is you can't continually take money away from public education and then turn around and say, you see, there you go. There's a problem there. I don't think I can say that any clearer. I'm just trying to come up with a different example or a different way of explaining that to everyone in the room and everybody that wants to listen on video. It's very disturbing to me. In addition, they found roughly around $300 million in fraud in the program. That's not me making this up. This is the Auditor General filing a report and saying, hey, there's fraud here. We can't determine where this money was supposed to go. Why this is not a big story, I have no idea. Why is this not a story? I would think if you're missing $300 million, somebody would be upset. And then when you take, yeah, we should bring Doge into that, right? So then when you look at it, right, you're taking money away from public school, giving it to private school. The system by which you're doing it, by the Auditor General himself, is fraught with fraud, okay? Now,
He said literally, the report said, the worst rollout in the history of legislatively funded ideas. I mean, that's how bad it was.
so just to kind of, you can see the passion in my voice is because when I look at this situation, there's not a day that I don't think there's a day that I don't talk to Miss Posey, and she probably wondering why she took this job again, right?
We need an incentive party on the 10th of March.
I'm kind of frustrated by the fact that the system is the way that it is. Because when we're talking about compensation for our employees, we're talking about all of those things, boy, you can't stack the deck against us and then say, oh, okay, go figure it out. Let me repeat, not a competition thing. Nobody's more competitive than I am. So I feel like we not only will compete, but we'll compete with excellence in Clay County schools. I think the issue is when you tie your hands behind our back and don't let us compete, that's a whole nother story. So That's my update. As far as the actual agenda itself, there's only a couple things that I would call your attention to.
Just real quick, you had a really nice slide up at the last workshop, and it showed like the actuals where we were, and it just said like electricity, right? And it showed us if we were up or down. Is that a real hard thing for you to do, maybe each month, just to show us where we're at?
Yeah, we can do that.
It was just an easy slide to see like payroll, where we are at, maybe where we might be in a little bit of a
Sort of like
deficit.
a tracker for a couple key data metrics. Of
It
course,
was a nice chart. Do you remember it, Ms. Posey, from last
So
year?
would you want that monthly or quarterly?
I think it's really easy for people to understand it, like outside of maybe this room, because it basically said we allocated this many dollars to electricity, we're right on target, but maybe has some concern that we're gonna be under, you know, at the last quarter. I don't know if it's a monthly thing, maybe nothing changes from month to month, which I know is not true in your department. Everything's always
Just a little bit of
changing.
timing of recording of things.
Yes.
Is the only.
The record,
concern
the
with
timing.
monthly. So, I mean. maybe
Would
about
quarterly be easier?
Quarterly. Yeah.
Quarterly.
Quarterly would be.
Because it was real easy.
It would be easier, and then it kind of would make sure that we have that quarter wrapped up. It's difficult when you
Yeah.
have revenue or expenditure
Okay.
going out and accruals and stuff to get it all where it needs to be at that exact time. So. if you could do
quarterly would be-
that'd be great, but-
Because it was a great visual, people could literally see, look, we've paid too much out for electricity versus budgeted, so.
Okay.
'Cause that's always confusing, the actual and where we are.
Also, I have a question really quick, 'cause it's, do we get paid for food services quarterly? Like, never mind, I'll ask you offline.
For reimbursement?
Yes. Yeah, but I'll ask you, I thought that was gonna be.
so on the agenda, for sake of time, I'd only call your attention to a couple things. One of those is, you know, as we prepare for next year, we're right now doing allocation reviews, and that we brought to the board in April a new allocation package. You'd see a restructuring of business affairs on this month's agenda because 2 employees had retired and left the organization. It made sense for Ms. Posey to restructure her department right now, so you'll see it in there. It's a cost savings of 70 grand related to it, but at the same time builds the capacity for the work to occur within her department. Everybody else would happen at the April meeting, but because we need those people now, her department was kind of going first, so you'll see the document on there and the cost reduction of 70 grand. Other than that, there is a document in here called the complete salary schedule. By statute, you have to have what's called a complete salary schedule, which is basically taking the teacher's contract, the support contract, and the admin piece and putting it into one document called the complete salary schedule. That's there. So you can see that all of the negotiations and changes are all documented in this one document. We didn't really celebrate it because we were kind of quiet about it, but you know, we did of course sell our contract with CESPA, and so that's all complete, and that's also contained within this particular document. And other than that, most of everything else is routine, but if you need any help or any questions, I'm open. Thank you so much.
School board attorney comments?
There's nothing from the school board attorney's office at this time. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
School board member comments. Ms. Gilhouse, would you like to go?
I'll just highlight the time we had in Tallahassee. I felt like it was a good showing for Clay County, encouraging to be around people who are passionate about what's best for the folks here in Clay. And despite the challenges that we have at the state level, we have great partners in our legislative delegation. And I had a warm reception from them and great conversations about what's needed here in the school district going forward. So I was encouraged by that visit and very proud of our county and how we were represented by the state.
Ms. Clark?
I would agree with that. It was nice to see many more people from even a few years ago. I think we have a band concert at Oakland tonight. Anybody aware?
No, I was not aware. They usually send an
Do we or
email.
not? 6 o'clock?
I can double check on that for you.
Appreciate it. That's it?
Because usually you and I go to those.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's on
I
my
did,
phone.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I did want to highlight Fleming Island High School basketball, boys basketball is knocking it out of the park right now. We went and watched them, I saw Lance there, we went and saw them, my family took my boys, to see them play Saturday, and they won, correct me, state.
Regional
finals.
semis, they are in regional finals this weekend on Saturday night at 7.
Yep.
They're good. I highly suggest you go watch them, they're really good.
It's like watching a college basketball team,
They are good.
phenomenal, and I believe they'll head to UNF in the
I think so
finals.
too, I think so.
Well, and the one just scored 51 points,
51
right?
points, yeah, Carson Crawford.
Carson Crawford, he's a
Yeah, scored
totally-
51 points. I think it's a record.
Record breaking, yeah.
What grade is he in?
11th.
He's highly recruited.
6'8". Highly
Yeah.
recruited D1 prospect, 6'8".
Yep.
junior.
6'8"?
Yeah.
He's really.
And then we have a 6'10" freshman, Jalil, on their team. Yeah, they're a powerhouse.
They
They're-
play so fast. I was tired just watching them up and down the court.
Yes.
And full court press the whole game in their defense. And it's an intense team.
Where are they playing Saturday?
At Fleming
High
Island.
Fleming Island?
School. They're hosting. They hosted last
What time?
Saturday's game.
7. They're the number 1 seed, so they'll play at home throughout the tournament until they go to UNF if they win.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super impressive. Go watch them this weekend.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Alvera, Miss Hanson?
I'm good.
All right, yeah, Ms. Gilhausen spoke on Tallahassee. It was a fun time, always productive, always interesting, and like you said, we have a good relationship with our delegation. They are listening. They hear us loud and clear, so if we can get the rest of the House and Senate to hear. We won't hurt as bad, I guess I should say. Anyways, with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Ms. Clark.